Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Arts and After School Funding Info Session. I am Kristen Knorr, Network Lead of the North Dakota After School Network, and we are also joined today by someone with North Dakota Council on the Arts, and I'll turn it over to Matthew to introduce himself.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Matthew Anderson. I am the Arts and Education Director for North Dakota Council on the Arts.
Thank you, Matthew. And in today's session, we are going to be talking about the funding priorities for the 2024-25 school year for this arts and after school funding. We're going to highlight some past projects to give you some examples of projects across the state and different entities that have been funded in the past. We're going to talk about funding eligibility and requirements, and then go through the process of how to request funding. So to start with, when I talk about funding priorities for this year, we want to provide meaningful arts engagement through community involvement and partnerships through out-of-school time programs. So applicants are really encouraged to think creatively about the partnerships that you have, that you are wanting to engage in for your project. And projects can include a wide variety of arts. So in the past, projects have included theater, they've included different mediums, they've included visual performance, photography, filmmaking, design. And we really want you to think creatively about what kind of opportunities do students in your out-of-school time programs are they needing? Are they wanting? Are they not getting exposed to right now that you can use this funding to have them engage in some hands-on art learning experiences? So the proposed activities must include direct engagement with an artist or an arts institution. That may include having a teaching artist that is facilitating lessons or doing some hands-on learning in your out-of-school time program. That might include a community artist, a local theater, a museum, or another arts entity. And then the funding is also intended to help spark a longer collaborative, ongoing collaboration. So whether your program has started to engage in arts programming and want to expand on that, or you want to connect with a different artist or another entity in your community, this funding is intended to help spark that and help to facilitate that relationship. To highlight some past projects that have been funded, this funding has been available in partnership with the North Dakota After School Network and the North Dakota Council on the Arts. This funding has been available since 2020. And since then, we have been able to fund 46 different projects. So those projects have all involved out of school time programs and a wide variety of artists, a wide variety of mediums from all across the state, working with youth anywhere from kindergarten all the way through high school. You can see here on the screen a couple of some pictures from past projects. The one on the left of on your screen is from a project from 2020 school year. And this was a after-school program, a 21st century after-school program in Valley City. They worked with Missoula Children's Theater. They had 2 professional actors who worked with students over the course of a week. And within that week, the students engaged in learning stage directions, voice projection, learning from a script, memorization, and choreography. And then at the end of that week, they put on a performance that was open to their families on Johnny Appleseed. The project in the middle is a project from 2021 in which Valley Edinburgh was the entity receiving funds. And that school year, they were without a full-time art teacher in their district. So they utilized this fund to help supplement the arts learning with some out-of-school time, with a teaching artist in the out-of-school time program. So they hired a teaching artist to work with students in kindergarten through 8th grade in their after-school program. And they created several projects, one including a rural landscape art over the course of 4 painting events that they held with students. On the right of your screen is a project from 2020. This project was held by Artwise in Grand Forks, and they put on a student art show. So they had students in grades all the way from kindergarten all the way through grade 12 from 4 different communities, and that included 3 public school buildings, 3 private schools, and homeschool students as well. They worked with a variety of artists, including the Watercolor Society, Area Quilters Guild, the Public Library, and many different storytellers. And at the art show, they had art demonstrations and collaborative art projects for attendees to engage with the youth and the artists. We've also had other projects include Minot 21st Century Programs. They partnered with an organization called the Film Dudes, and they held a 2-day movie trailer making class for students. So they learned all about filmmaking and created some finished products of movies. On Track Learning Center in Jamestown. They worked with kindergarten through 5th grade students and the Jamestown Art Center, who led instruction in basic clay work and ceramics. African Arts Arena in Grand Forks, they worked with the city of Grand Forks, the HUD after school program to teach students the art of drumming. And with that drumming, they were using a social emotional art approach. Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch in Minot worked with artists from Minot State University and local art galleries to give youth hands-on experience with composition, lighting, conceptualization, and focused exploration. So those projects are just a snippet of the 46 projects that have been completed thus far with this funding. And to highlight a featured project, we have Diana Lange with Rolla Public Library, who will be sharing about the project they did this last year. So I'll turn it over to Diana.
Hello, everyone. I am very happy to be talking to you about our project because it's been so successful. 3 years ago, I was searching for grant money. We're a small library here in Rolla, North Dakota. And we had an artist that was interested in teaching classes. So she actually reached out to the Arts Council. I called them and they suggested using the after school grant if possible because it was less work. We don't have a lot of hours to work on grants here, and it didn't require any matching funds. So as you can see in the pictures, that lady is from Kazakhstan, and her name is Lana Lear, and she's got the cutest little accent, and she's kind of on the small side, and she has great rapport with the kids, and she really wants to be able to reach out to children, teach them art, and we don't have any art in our school. There's no funding for that. And so I talked to the school and they sounded interested since everything was being paid for and everything was set up by the public library here. And we did that. The first year we did 10 classes, and the second year we did 12 classes. And next year I got funding from the Rolla Community Grant, and we're going to be doing 30 classes. So that's once a week during the school year. And as you can see in the picture, those are homeschoolers. We have a big Mennonite community just south of Rolla. And excuse me. And those are some of the kids that were in the class. And the classes usually ran from 10 to, we had 20 kids in the first class, and that just kind of whittled down to about 10 to 15. And that's been great for the library too, because they check out a lot of books when they're here. So it was kind of a win-win thing. And then over on the right, you can see that there's a pictures that she did with the high schoolers at the Rolla School. That was this last spring, And you can see they did a variety of medium, and the kids were just excited to see their art up on the wall. I'm just going to look at my notes here for a second. Anyway, she asked to talk about conflicts, and one of the things was the high schoolers had so many things going on, that we're hoping this next year that with more days and more hours, we'll have a little bit more flexibility with that. Anyway, we're just so very thankful to the after school art program for providing the funds for our little town.
Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing. Rolla Public Library, what you've been able to do highlights many of the reasons that we have this funding, in that, there's not art, readily available in the school right now. And you're taking community connections to expose students in the community that wouldn't otherwise have this arts engagement by working with a local artist. So thank you so much for your partnership and for sharing about what you have done with this funding in the past.
Thank you.
Talking a little bit about who is eligible to apply for this funding in this next year. Any after school, summer, or other out of school time program in North Dakota is eligible to apply. So the North Dakota After School Network has a broad definition of after school. That includes before school, after school, summers, weekends, when school is otherwise not in session. And the out of school time programs do need to serve youth in anywhere from the kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So you can serve multiple age ranges. You can pick one grade to focus on, but kindergarten through 12th grade. So it encompasses a large variety of ages of youth. And then the activities for this funding must take place before May 15th of 2025. And one of the reasons for that is because of the fiscal year of all of the grant funding, to make sure that we have enough time to complete the final report form and do grant reporting. And the North Dakota Council on the Arts is available for any assistance that you might need in thinking through different types of projects. If you have a project idea or are wondering about what local artists are available, they are available to help talk through that. And Matthew is going to talk a little bit more about that right now.
Yeah, so one of the great things about being in the position that I'm in is I get to work with schools across the state and work with all kinds of different artists in different communities. So there are artists on our teaching artist roster who are visible, but there's a lot of artists out there that are working with schools that aren't on that roster. So if you hear of schools or after school programs that are looking, that want to explore an arts project, but aren't sure necessarily, maybe they're not sure who to reach out to, give us a call, and we can help facilitate those, match artists with projects the best we can.
Yes, absolutely. And as far as what is allowable in expenses under this funding, we want to ensure that the artist and arts institutions that you are working with are paid fairly. So we strongly encourage to include payment or stipend to the artist or the arts institution for the services that they're providing. So that is an allowable expense, as well as any supplies or materials that are needed for the project. The exception of that is any permanent equipment. So some examples of permanent equipment would include things like a printing press, a pottery wheel, a 3D printer. So supply materials are going to be more consumable supplies. And transportation that's directly related to this project is also an allowable expense. So in the past, that has included busing transportation for youth from a school or another community organization to and to a museum, to an artist's studio, can be included as well. Because of where this funding originates from, there are some limitations on that. And one is that this funding cannot pay for any snacks or meals, permanent equipment, as I mentioned. And it also cannot pay for any staffing or other overhead costs. If you do have questions about specifics on what's allowable or unallowable, please feel free to reach out to myself or Matthew, and our contact information will be at the end of this presentation. The process to request funds. So the first step is to determine what your project is going to be. We strongly encourage any applicants to contact the network prior to applying. By doing that, it gives us and the Council on the Arts the opportunity to have a virtual quick meeting with you to talk through your project, to help connect you with resources, to help connect you with artists, to maybe make some suggestions, and be a resource so that your project can be the strongest it can be. But to do that, all you need to do is just reach out to the network, and we can help to set up a quick 30-minute meeting with Matthew and myself to schedule that. Next is to fill out the interest form. So I'm going to go through in the next few slides all the questions that are asked on the interest form. That interest form will be open as of September 1st, 2024, but we'll go through the questions so you know what to expect. Once you have submitted an interest form and it is determined that you will receive funding, the network will email a letter of agreement to the main contact of the project. That letter of agreement does need to be signed by both parties, and that letter of agreement just covers the amount of funding that is going to be exchanged, the requirements such as making sure that funds are spent before the deadline, making sure that a final report form is completed. And then the last step is to fill out that final report form. And with the final report form, we are asking for how the project went. We want to hear successes. We want to hear challenges. We also want to see pictures and documentation. So that is strongly encouraged to send as many pictures, as many flyers, videos, whatever you have showing the project in action. We share that with Council on the Arts, who then in turn also shares that with their funders, partly, which is the legislature. And people like to see those pictures and see what this funding is going towards. And I'm going to show you what is on the funding interest form. So we try to keep the process as simple as possible. We know that time is limited in after school, and that the amount of funding that you can request is from anywhere from $500 to $2,000. So it's not a huge sum of money, but we want to make sure that we get the information that we need in order to provide you that funding so that you can start your project. So we ask simple demographic information about the name of the program. The mailing address is very important because we need to know where to send the money to. So make sure that you have your full mailing address. For this, only entities that are located within North Dakota are eligible for this funding. So you'll notice that there is no option to select a state other than North Dakota. Next, we'll ask for a organization mission statement or goal, the amount of funding that you're requesting, and then we want an overview of how the funds are going to be utilized. So if you know exactly what artist or arts institution you are going to be working with, you can include that. If you have just a general idea, you can put that as well. We want to know what activities are going to take place, what type of medium is going to be involved, and then where is the programming going to take place. We also have several questions that we need answered, which are requirements on our end when we complete our final report for this funding to the Council on the Arts. So we are looking for an estimated number of students who would benefit from this funding. On the final report form, you will fill in the total numbers. So the estimated and the total, they may match, they may not, and either one is just fine. Looking for estimated populations to be served, estimated populations by distinct groups, and then looking for a brief budget. So you'll notice that all of these forms, or all of these are, there's boxes that you can type your answers into, but we encourage you to be as succinct as possible. We just want enough information that we have a good understanding of what the intent is with this funding. And then lastly, we ask that you are checking that you agree that if awarded funding, you will complete the final report form, you'll provide documentation of activities. A note about documentation is that while we love to see pictures and videos that include students that participated, we want to also make sure that you have a photo release on file if those students' faces are being shown. So please don't share any pictures or video that can't be shared outside of your program, because we want to make sure to respect the privacy of those students. And then we ask for a signature, and you'll notice a blue submit button. So once you submit that button, that sends an email, it triggers, the system triggers an email to send us your interest form. We then will look over it with North Dakota Council on the Arts. If we have any questions or looking for clarifications on your application, we will reach out to you. Otherwise, if it looks like you've answered all the questions, you meet all the requirements, then you'll receive the letter of agreement with details on the funding. Again, I mentioned that the interest form will open on September 1st. This funding is on a first come, first served basis. We do want to try to prioritize programs who have not been funded in the past. However, anybody can apply. We're not limiting it to only new organizations that have not applied. Because the funding is limited, we do ask that only one application per organization come in. The project that you propose this funding for, it can either be a standalone project or it can be part of a larger project. So depending on what you're working on, what your programs are working on, that might look a little bit differently. And then last but not least, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, the After School Network. You can also reach out to Matthew with Council on the Arts. Both of our contact information is there on the screen. And does anybody have any questions about this funding, how to request it, any project ideas you'd like to talk through?
I guess I'd like to see the full list of what's been funded, just to get, your ideas that you provided were great. But I think it would be helpful just to see what has been done in the past, just to get some other ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great idea, and we can update, I can update that list and have that linked on our website, and I can share it out with this recording as well. It's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we're also hoping that through, partnership with Council on the Arts, that programs might be exposed to artists or other places like within their community that maybe they, you don't have that relationship yet, or you didn't know about how to access it. We hope that this funding can help spark some of that and do some more ongoing collaborations.
Kristen, I have a question. I think one of the years past, like you would let an art teacher or a certified music teacher in the school be the artist. Has that changed?
Nope, that has not changed. So
Okay.
yes, that's a great question. The main goal is that it's it's offered to students outside of the school day. So if there's students that aren't getting exposed to or having an opportunity to have those classes during the school day, that would be a great use of resources.
Thank you.
I am going to stop the recording now. So if you are watching this recording, thank you, and please reach out with any questions. The interest form will open on September 1st. But just because I'm stopping the recording